We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Our vision in this interim government is to make ABC a leader and a real war horse of our struggle. We want to grow it, expand it, hire and train more hands, and broadcast round the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock, 24/7 exclusive moments of bliss as an ABC Amber TV Club member. A cappella. Latest Nigerian/African movies, global politics, ABC Amber News and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amber News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Okpala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, intro governmental debates on topical issues with Tar Paddy King, State of the Liberation Movement, Fronting IG and People of Ambazonia's Position, the Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASC, Health is Wealth, Health Education and Awareness within the Ambazonian Community with Dr. Yaya, Liberation Prayer, an Intercessory Ministry for Ambazonia with Pastor Victor Mba, Our Freedom, Spiritual Awareness and Education for the Ambazonian Community with Pastor Victor Mba and Pastor Commando, Church and Politics, neutralizing the myths and preconceived religious and political philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realms of decent politics with Pastor Commando, The Horizon, the voice of the Ambazonian woman with Dr. Patience Abiedo and Lady Casey, Our Amber History, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Ambazonia to the world with Pastor Commando, Appointment on Community Building, Education on Patriotism within the Ambazonian communities with Ma Rachael, Tima, Ethics for an Emerging Nation, Watchdog of Basic Principles and Morals of a Nation at War with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amber Focus, only on ABC Amber Television. We the people, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambertv.com/subscribe.
Our vision in this interim government is to make ABC a leader and a real war horse of our struggle. We want to grow it, expand it, hire and train more hands, and broadcast round the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock, 24/7 exclusive moments of bliss as an ABC Amber TV Club member. A cappella. Latest Nigerian/African movies, global politics, ABC Amber News and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amber News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Okpala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, intro governmental debates on topical issues with Tar Paddy King, State of the Liberation Movement, fronting IG and people of Ambazonia's position, the Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASC. Health is wealth, health education and awareness within the Ambazonian community with Dr. Yaya. Liberation prayer and intercessory ministry for Ambazonia with Pastor Victor Mba. Our freedom, spiritual awareness and education for the Ambazonian community with Pastor Victor Mba and Pastor Commando. Church and politics, neutralizing the myths and preconceived religious and political philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realms of decent politics with Pastor Commando. The Horizon, the voice of the Ambazonian woman with Dr. Patience Abiedo and Lady Casey. Our Amber History, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Ambazonia to the world with Pastor Commando. Appointment on community building, education on patriotism within the Ambazonian communities with Ma Rachael, Tima. Ethics for an Emerging Nation, watchdog of basic principles and morals of a nation at war with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amber Focus, only on ABC Amber Television. We the people, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambertv.com/subscribe.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, fellow Ambazonians. You are all welcome to the ABC TV and you are welcome on Appointment on Community Building with Ma Rachael. I greet you all again powerfully on another Tuesday of the week. I just want to appreciate everyone that has come on board, and I am appealing to you that please do not stay on your screen alone. Do invite someone, do call someone. The link has been shared in most of the fora, so please do a patriotic move by sharing the link. It is on Facebook, probably also on YouTube. Just make out time to watch for those who are available. So again, we greet you in the Americas, in Europe. We greet you on home front, powerfully patriotic people of Ambazonia. Greetings, warm greetings to you, especially during this very decisive weekend. We greet our brothers and sisters on ground 1, ground 2, ground 3, wherever you find yourself during this time. Greetings to you from the ABC team, from your national television. You are all wonderful and blessed people, and most especially, we sound our 21 gun salute to our people, to our brothers and sisters who have decided to draft with their blood, with their lives. We all know that life has no duplicate, but these ones have dedicated themselves in no other way other than to say, better I die than for continue live like a slave. Better I die than to live in subordination. Better I die than to be frustrated and live a stateless life with no hope for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you all. And I am very pleased to announce to you that today I am not talking all to myself, or we are not just talking to ourselves, There is a very powerful, patriotic Amazonian who is in the house, who will be introduced very soon on the screen, with whom we will be scattering what we have for you today. We will dish out the agenda of today, the talking points of today. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you know that Barrister Tim, we all know him. He is one of those who have said that we will together make homeland. We will together speak the truth. We will together stand for justice. We will together share the knowledge that we know, because if we do not, others will forcefully, they will falsify our story, falsify our history, and flush it down forcefully down our throat. And that is what we do not want. Even if it takes what it may take, we are ready to stand and talk and do it, because there is nothing like standing on the right side of history. There is nothing like telling the truth and be free mentally, physically, psychologically, financially, morally, in all sorts of freedom that you can give yourself. It's only when you have the voice to decide politically, socially, economically, in a place called your own country and your own home. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased and honored to have Barrister Tim in the house, with whom we shall be talking on the following points: what the international community is or is not telling the Amazonian people. We are also going to be talking on Cry the Beloved Country, how Amazonians should show their patriotism by participating in the institutions that have been laid down, following the structures that have been laid down, whether it's financially, whether it's politically, your own ideas, and not to lie low for cheap sellouts, fabricated um, whatsoever that we may not even want to relate ourselves with. And equally, we will talk of what the press and the activists are or are not reporting about Amazonia. Yes, there are lots of things we all know out here that the press have. We will examine some of the conferences, what the press is telling us, what the president is saying on them, and how it affects us, and what the other activists are, we as international activists or national activists, what they are telling us and what they are not telling us. So these are some of the things we are going to be deliberating on today. And as a matter of fact, we are going to end it with HSS calling. So before we go further, I would just like to welcome Barrister Tim in the house. You're welcome, Barrister.
Uh, Thank you, madam, for having me. Thank the audience for having time to watch us. And so, as usual, when I come on, all the time I come on, I always describe my appearance as a learning field. The information I give all the time is purely educational. And if any follower, any listener thinks that we are wrong, they are free to correct us. We are not angels. We are not God. We narrate the facts as we know. We narrate the story as we know. We tell the law as we know. But if we go wrong, correct us. If we don't go wrong and you don't want to take it, leave it. Nobody compels you to take what we tell you. So, but I think by the time I leave this place, someone, some people might have learned something new that will empower the Amazonian struggle, might have learned something new that will make us probably change or improve on what we're already doing. Thank you once more for having me.
Thank you, Barrister. It's really my pleasure to have you here, because personally, I really so much appreciate you each time you are on board on every issue talking on Ambazonia, whether in the county meetings, APP meetings, town hall meetings, in special meetings. The knowledge has been to me always overwhelming that each time I cannot just wait to call, even privately, to say, barristers, what do you think about this? What is this, and how? And so I am so I'm so honored to have you here today to share in your knowledge as you will be, as we will further be sharing to the Amazonian people. Each time I meet you as well, I equally learn a lot and I go home really with the lots of package that I drain from you. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you. Um, yes, there is um lots and lots of themes have come up over the weeks, the months, and there have been a lot of talking going here and there. What should be done, what should not be done, everyone with their own opinion. But as somebody who has what it takes in the legal section of it all over the years, conversant with the international decisions and examples, I know that when we say what the international community is not telling Amazonians, what are some of those things that Amazonians are not being told by the international community with reference to all these things that you know have been debated upon in the past months and weeks?
That's an intriguing question. What the international community is not telling us. I think, for start, let me start by saying that the international community, if it exists, is not telling us that we're talking to nobody.
Debated
The
upon in the
international
past.
community, if it exists, is not telling us that we're talking to nobody. And you find this word that's is all over Amazonia, even with the coup plotters, the international community, even the best people will have, they've sing the song of international community. But what does international community really mean? International community, simply spoken, is the world. Because that's the community of nations, the whole world put together are called international community. So are we talking to the world? Do we expect somebody to come from the world and say, okay, Ambassador, I'm the world, I've listened to you? It's not possible. International community is a collection of countries. And the international community, there are so many international communities. For example, the African Union is an international community. It groups so many African countries. The European community, the European Union is an international community. It groups so many European countries. ECOWAS, that's the West Africa Economic Community. It's an international community. It groups so many countries. And so when you say you're talking to the international community, you're talking to nobody. You should be able to address to whom you're talking. I guess, I think I'm right. But all the time we say, well, the international community, I think we are referring to United Nations. And so it is always good that we refer to the individual group that want them to listen to us, that want them to answer our questions, not the international community. If we're referring to the United Nations, let us say the United Nations has not answered us. And so if we're writing a petition, we write the petition to the United Nations. Because if you write it and put it in the mail, the national community will go to nobody. There's no address called international community where they will deliver that mail. So I guess and I think we're talking about the United Nations. Why the United Nations? Because Ambazonia as we know it, in fact, most Africa as we know it, It's the creation of the United Nations. There will be no Ambazonia if there were no British Southern Cameroon. There were no British Southern Cameroon if there were no United Nations. There will be no problem that we have today if the United Nations had not created them for us. So I think rightly we're asking for the United Nations to come back and fix what they spoiled, to come back and clarify what they meant, because they created this story for us. So that's what is meant by the United Nations. But how do you get to the United Nations? The United Nations is a group of countries. Ambazonia, as we sit here, are members of the United Nations listening to us? Of course. We're in the United States. The United States is one of the most powerful members of the United Nations. They listen to us. The Congress passes resolutions for us. So the United States, a member of the United Nations, listen to us. And many other countries, remember the Switzerland initiative, they were endorsed by the European Union. That's a that's the goal of nations over there. Germany, Canada, they all supported the idea. Those are members of the United Nations. But does Canada alone, does the United States alone, does Great Britain alone constitute the United Nations? No. They are individual countries. They are members of the United Nations. So the United Nations as a group is not talking to us. Individual member countries are not are talking to us, some of them. And then we must also know how the United Nations speaks. When to know that the United Nations is addressing you. We also make the mistake all the time. We write the letters and copy Mr. Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations. The Secretary General of the United Nations is not the United Nations. The Secretary General of the United Nations is the chief of the Secretariat of the United Nations. And what is the work of the Secretary General and the Secretariat? Execute decisions of the United Nations. They don't take decisions for the United Nations. They execute them. And what are the decisions of the United Nations? You expect to find decisions in the United Nations mostly in writing and very often in some resolution. The resolve resolution, this we have mentioned resolution 1608. That's the voice of the United Nations talking. For example, 1608 came and talked about plebiscite. They remember this first Secretary General of the United Nations who died in the air. He came to Boya. What was he coming to Boya for? He was coming to execute, to see the execution of the resolution 1608 that the United Nations had spoken. He does not create resolutions. He follows up what the United Nations has asked him or her to do. He's just a member, a chief of staff. And so for United Nations to speak, yes, he can, for example, remember the story of the COVID declaration of year of the COVID. The United Nations took a decision. Let nations fighting suspend their fight because of this endemic that has affected the whole world. They came out and said, okay, call on people fighting, communities, whatever they were, to suspend their fight. He was speaking for the United Nations as directed by some assembly. And again, the United Nations is not just the General Assembly. No. There are so many organs of the United Nations. That they speak to us, we know that the United Nations has spoken. For example, the International Court of Justice at The Hague. It was created by the United Nations Charter. So they gave a ruling. That's a ruling of the United Nations. It has to be
Like
executed.
I said,
It comes from that.
yeah,
We also have things like
you just
International Human Rights Commissions. They are parts of the United Nations. And so it depends upon what you want. And we find in our own case, we have things like the Security Council. That deals with Chapter 7. Chapter 7 of the Charter deals with peace and security. Where there's fighting, where people are dying, the Security Council takes resolution invoking the war and passes a resolution on how to solve it. Maybe sometime they will talk of sending a peacekeeping mission. We have been talking about peacekeeping mission. Some of you don't even know how a peacekeeping mission works. Right now, there's no way that the United Nations will ever pass a resolution in this context for a peacekeeping force in Amazonia. No. Why? Because we're not yet there. They call it a peacekeeping mission. The peacekeeping mission comes to any place when the warring parties agree. They are peacemakers. They are not going to send their troops to Kumba because they are being fired on the left by Choyaba, being fired on the right by Yaoundé. They come when when the fighting parties agree to let them in. They are no longer attacking each other. They come in and set the buffer between the fighters. And if you shoot at any of them, you become a criminal for killing a peacekeeper, for firing at a peacekeeper. So bottom line, what the international community in this light, the United Nations, is not telling us is that we're not yet talking to them. Since it's a club of nations, it's a group of nations, it is essentially a diplomatic club. I'm twisting behind the doors, telling the story behind the screen. Yes, the Americans have been talking to us as interim government. If they had to go further to help take a decision in the Security Council or in the General Assembly, America will not just stand up and vote alone. It's a group of, right now, there are 199 countries. If it's in General Assembly, the majority must vote for that decision. So the Americans, if they took it, they will look for a majority. They have so many allies there. People go there in allies. Those who support America would vote what America wants. If, for example, an issue is brought up by France, expect Cameroon, Ivory Coast, all those French-speaking African countries to follow suit, to become French allies immediately. And so that is how it is. We need this to be arm twisting to get the United Nations listen and talk to us. They don't just listen, they listen. You think that Mr. Guterres does not know there's war in Cameroon? He knows that. But he cannot make a decree and say, well, go and do this. He can only make a report if he has to make one and send it to the member countries. All member countries are represented in New York. I said, this is a problem. One of those countries will take up that matter, bring it to the Security Council or to the General Assembly or to the relevant organ of the United Nations, where they will debate it, vote it, take a resolution, which is the talking point for the United Nations. Like, I mean, there are so many examples. We have seen this nonsense of referendum. The United Nations come and organize a referendum. They will not just come to organize a referendum, so they will sit somewhere and pass a resolution. A United Nations resolution describing what is the problem. If it's a referendum, they will say who is organizing the referendum. What is the role of the United Nations then? And above all those things, this is not Africa. All those things cost money. They will raise money. They don't have a bank sitting there just to give you money. No. If the United States brings up a case, for example, they say, well, this matter will take care of it. We'll help fund it. A good example, again, is the Swiss-led initiative. You find that there was Canada, there were other countries there who had agreed to fund the process. Nothing in the United Nations goes for nothing. This is not Africa where you're going to eat a chew for nothing. So they look for funding. Member countries pay. If they need a peacekeeping force, there's no army sitting there called United Nations Army. Nothing. If they need to raise 10,000 soldiers, countries contribute their military, physical military. They say, Cameroon, give us 100. Nigeria, give us 300. This, give us 50. And they pay. And that constitutes a United Nations peacekeeping force. All those countries that are contributing, they come there in their national military colors. The only thing they wear to indicate that they are United Nations is the blue beret, where it's written the UN. And the other thing is, if you are from Cameroon, you are wearing the Cameroon military. If you are from Japan, you are wearing the Japanese military uniform. And so, what we have not done all the time, we have not successfully doing, I think we're doing it from behind the screen, is to get one of these countries resolution in our own case. What resolution we want? is what can be decided from now. They are fighting. What do they want? They are taking the steps earlier by saying, go to the conference table without preconditions and decide and discuss the root causes. If they had gone there, if the Swiss-led initiative was still there, Cameroon and the people will not just go and us will not just go and sit on the table. They will be observers. Those observers will include the United Nations. They will include the African Union. They will include other groups who will be able to enforce the decisions that you people agree on. If, for example, in that table, one of the agreements, I just say for example, one of the agreements, okay, you go and organize a plebiscite. Yes. They will agree on the question, what are you going to ask the people? It must be agreed there, and there will be witnesses, and so on and so forth. And then the United Nations will then come in to enforce what you people have agreed. They don't impose a solution on you. And take it from Table Nash. You will fight your own war. Sudan fought their own war. Other countries fight. The United Nations, let me just call this the international community, comes in at the last minute to help you finalize your war. Don't expect the United Nations to come and fight for you. Don't expect any other international community to come and fight for you. We'll fight the war ourselves. The international community, if necessary, will come to help us. And these are instant cases. The only international community that we should be looking for is the United Nations, not the African Union, not ECOWAS, not the European Union, not Commonwealth, not Francophonie, because Francophonie, European Union, African Union, the issue is not there. They don't give people independence. They deal with different things in the world. They don't give countries independence. Independent issues are get independence and go straight to the United Nations. Full stop. Thank you. I wonder if that's been helpful to you. Over to you, madam.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Barrister. Thank you very much. It has really gone down. I hope Amazonians are really listening, each individual and community, because this is appointment and community building. So wherever you are, these points that we are jotting down here, sharing down here, is for each and every one of us to take home and know the right things to do. Barrister, you just said we should go to the United Nations because all the Francophonies, the Commonwealth, and all these things, they all these bodies, they have other responsibilities in the international scene, and most importantly, they don't give um, independence to anybody. That it is the United Nations. Okay, how then is how seriously can we take the resolutions of the United Nations? Because I will just quote, when the president was having the press conference, President Sako, he was having the press conference, he said the international community, meaning the UN, should come out from resolutions and start taking actions, that is, implementing actions, for example, to stop this unnecessary bloodshed in Amazonia. And how effective then are the resolutions in the United Nations, their decisions?
The United the, the United Nations resolutions are in principle supposed to be effective because there are powers regarding member countries. And when you sign up to the United Nations, when you go to apply to become a member, you're signing up to its charter. You're signing up to what they stand for. And if they therefore pass a resolution, in the majority of cases, they are respected. They are the law once they pass it. If they must be changed, if they encounter difficulties on the ground, they will come back and amend the resolution. The resolution is what it is. It's not what you like.
Mm.
So don't go there and think that you can implement one part and leave the other one. They are binding because those people, they pass resolutions on member countries. If you don't respect the resolutions, there's supposed to be some sanctions. You cannot go to Ngomba house, they say everybody is drinking palm wine from the palm from his hands, and you tell you doing your own cup, they will send you out because that's the club. So they're supposed to be binding. And they're in general binding. You can have a few violations, but they're in general binding. But there are consequences for violating United Nations resolutions. And so, what we should be trying to do, when I say we have to do the diplomatic battle, no, it's not only for President Sako or me or somebody sitting up there to do it. Everybody can do it wherever you are. We're all equal in terms of diplomacy. How are we equal? First, we're lucky. We're not living in one country. In your own country where you live, you can do something to cause that country take action, even at the United Nations, because that country in which you live necessarily belongs to the United Nations. How can you do it, for example? There are groups out there, women's groups, who care much about women's rights, who care much about children's rights. If you call your House of Representative or whoever, politician over there and say, look, let me say, I'm taking an example of a woman, and say, Madam, you are a congresswoman, you are an MP, whatever it is. Look at what is happening in my country. They are killing these women. See my Api being burnt alive. See the children being burnt in school. That would touch the heart of that congressman. Why are they doing this? You would tell them the short story. I want these things to go to United Nations. You never know where it can happen. That person that you are talking to in Japan, in China, wherever you may be, if you talk to 100 people in the 199 countries, let me say if you have 100 of them, or 90, or even 50, one might pick up that thing at the United Nations. When they pick it up there, the Americans will not deny because they already know the problem. The British will not say go away. They already know the problem. The French will not say go away. They already know the problem. But we can push each at our own level to have something done by United Nations. It's not that it is me or President Sako to go and see Mr. Guterres or to go and see Mr. Biden or whoever and say, just go and do this. No, we can all, at our own levels, try to do something. Again, we never know where the log will fall. If we push, if we try to knock at 100 doors, five might open. If we're lucky, 10. Why not 100? Over to you. Over to you.
To be taken and who should be consulted and how we should do it. First, not really addressing letters to individuals like the UN Secretary of State because he's just head of the secretariat, and not to individual groups, but we should target the sources, as many as possible, hoping that something might we might get results from somewhere. Because as we all know, some countries are responding, but as it stands at this point in time, it is not yet there. But then, so let me ask you this question. What is really, because last year the United Nations Human Rights Commissioner judged this arrest of the detained Amazonian um, leaders and said their arrest was illegal and they should be released and be compensated. Then, if this is a decision that is coming from a United Nations human rights body, and up to now something like that has not been effected, has not been implemented, has not been carried out, what is it that what should we hope for or what should we do?
Let me explain to you. They can release all those people, can release Ayoktabe and everybody this night. It's even
Mhm.
stupid not to release them. They can release them this night, even this evening as we speak. That would not have ended the Amazonian problem.
Thank you.
We have cases where the Human Rights Commission of the United Nations ruled against Cameroon and said they should compensate the people with money. They did, they paid, but it took many years. Abel Mukong is one of those. He had the money. It took many years, but they paid him. That was the United Nations Human Rights Commission. Kojidinka was awarded money. I mean, these are Amazonians by the same Human Rights Commission. It took years for him to have it. And the last I heard, Akwanga was awarded money. Cast on this guy, what do you call him? Akwanga, this guy will know. He recovered the money.
Mhm.
So executing a decision is not the problem. Yeah, those are easiest one to execute. Even if you die, your successor can still harvest the money from your own day. Because they know they want to remain on the legal side. They don't want to be. That's the reason why I told you there's a sanction for it. If they don't do what the United Nations, whatever group has said they should do, there's a penalty for that. One of which can be that you are suspended from the United Nations. Who wants to be taken away from the mother house? So
Yeah.
those it depends on where the resolutions come from. They are always executed. Let me take another case of Namibia. Namibia was like us. We're a trust territory. Namibia was one. Namibia was exactly like us. But at the end of the trust, the South African government, to which Namibia was entrusted, they were entrusted to Great Britain. They said, no, we're not giving these people independence. They are part of us. They refused to give Namibia independence. The thing was taken to the Hague, at the Hague, the National Court of Justice. And the court ruled that, you, South Africa, these people are not part of you. They're just a trust territory. You have to leave. And that's how they went down and forced South Africa out. And Namibia had independence. So there are
Mhm.
consequences. Nobody, it's not a rogue state like Cameroon. Even Cameroon, in terms of United Nations, they respect those things. That's why they avoid a situation where they will give a judgment against them because there are consequences. Even France, they want to be on the side of legality. You cannot be sentenced to prison or you escape. I think that somebody will shelter you. So there are consequences for that. Again, they are respected. It may take time. It depends upon the decision we want. If today United Nations pass a resolution and say, look, the presence of uh, Cameroon in Ambazonia is illegal, they will protest. They will do it for 6 months, even for 2 years, for 3 years, but they will leave. They will leave because nobody. I mean, you don't want in every thief caught in this money laundering thing. When they come to take something from you, they don't just do it thinking that you will come out. If you come out, they will fight you back. They fight you back before they finally jump into the bush and run away. When you're traveling in the market in Bamenda or Kumba, a Tima is grabbing your wallet. They are really beating you physically. And if you're not powerful enough, they will grab your wallet and disappear. But when the community comes, that is the crowd, comes to overpower them, they let go your wallet, They're running for their lives, and very often they kill them. So a thief is always a strong guy. But the legality, the legal part of it is that that property does not belong to you. You try to take her wallet because she's an old woman, because she cannot run. You'll be overpowered. The same happens to the United Nations. If that were not the case, bigger countries will simply swallow the small countries. Well, family war is going on in Cameroon, for example. Uh, Equatorial Guinea is not even off to the town of Kumba. But because they're a country, they're able to expel Cameroonians from, from their country. And what will Cameroon do? They can get angry. They are not going to overtake that place. Look at Central African Republic. They don't even have money to pay their salaries. They come to Cameroon and say, give us money, beg. Cameroon cannot just say, because we're giving you money, we can't take over that country now. We are stronger than them. We are larger than them. We are richer than them. But you won't go and take their property. So don't mind about those things. All those things are human behavior. They take time to execute. And again, the summary is a thief man is always a physically strong man. You don't find a weakling breaking into banks. People, you see them very physically strong. So they can stand you, they can kill you, they can do anything. But if caught, they'll go to jail. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister. I asked this question because most of recent past and all the times, some people accuse the interim government of being adamant towards the former leadership in prison as not doing anything to make sure or to support them or to even mention them anywhere. That means they have abandoned them. Let me just put abandoned in inverted commas because I know that we know that the interim government has never at any given point in time abandoned the government, the former leadership now in the La Republique dungeons. Because from the beginning of it, some people went to Nigeria to look to find out what happened to them, and lawyers were being paid that went even right to Cameroon to go and stand with then Barrister So in their case and all those things. So when people, Amazonians, we so much forget so fast. We forget fast the things that do happen, and we just think of the one step ahead or in front of us. So, as we have heard, uh, our barrister here has really elaborated on it, letting us understand that even though the United Nations the Human Rights Commission has already judged and and declared that they should be released and compensated if it is not yet done. Like in the cases of others, it will surely come to pass. This is because we all understand the rogue regime that that La Republique is. It will always use everything to her advantage. So this is for us, for our people to know that the interim government is not sitting quiet. It is doing lots and lots and lots of things to make sure that what should be done. And really, the name is boldly written everywhere with letters addressed. By so doing, Miss Barrister, I want to ask you this one again. From all the things you have enumerated here today, the different commissions, the different committees, internationally and individually, can you in any way tell the Amazonian people if Amazonia is taking advantage of all of these um, um, specific or appointed places? Is the interim government taking advantage and putting their case at the appropriate quarters to the best of your
Mhm.
knowledge and for what the
The
Amazonian
interim
people
government is
should know?
doing the interim government is doing the interim government is doing the best it can. But before I get there, let me address one issue you have raised. We have brothers
Yes, sir.
and cousins and uncles in Kudingi. So this story of they being abandoned, is 1,000 times far from the truth. I say it as an insider. When they adopted discipline, the Barrister and I constituted the team. They included Barrister to defend them. The ones in Nigeria, I was at the head of that team. So I know what happened there. And I wish you get this thing to reach them. If it is recording, make sure it gets to the guys in Yaoundé. This is the reason. I told them that they have made the saddest errors of their lives. First, they are political prisoners. Political prisoners don't argue their own cases. People outside liberate political prisoners. Once you find yourself in that situation, you have probably just three options. The best option is you just plead and tell the guy that, well, you do his will, your captor's will, deceitfully to be free. Two, you look for a way to escape. Three, you remain there for eternity until the battle is over. And let me give the examples. Nelson Mandela was captured for being against apartheid. He did not release himself. He remained there until the end of apartheid. He remained there for 27 years. He didn't change his approach. By the end of 27 years, he came out and became the president of South Africa. When Abamu come and Akwanga, let me just pull up them and put there. They were taken to jails in Yaoundé. They escaped. Abamu only escaped. Akwanga only escaped. And now they're outside fighting for the same cause for which they were sent to prison. It is a big mistake for anybody to think that while in chains, you can fight for yourself. That's a mistake our brothers in Yaoundé made. And they still make the mistake. They believe that Yaoundé, after having sacrificed all what they had, they knew that they were ruining their own reputations by going to Nigeria to catch them without any warrant to bring them to jail. They took all that risk. And you think that they'll come and release you like that? That one good morning they'll come and they'll take you in a prison van to Mvolier, give you a cup of wine in the Pope's house, the bishop's house, and you negotiate your own freedom. And then, of course, when you go there, if it is true, and it is, I think it was true, they ask, what do you want, Mr. Yoktabe? He said, well, I want Amazonia. And you're in prison and you're sitting at the same nonsense, then they'll release you how? Are they so stupid? So they should never have thought that they could release themselves. Who would fight for them outside? Who have been fighting for them outside? Who don't even care whether they recognize the fight or not. There are people in Yaoundé who don't even know them, but they are in Yaoundé prison because of this struggle. We stand for them. So if you find yourself in the enemy's camp, you cannot defend yourself. Somebody else outside free. If, for example, what the opportunity to catch Okala Bilai or to catch Lele, what do you call him, the
Lele
governor.
l'Afrique.
If we had the
Lele
opportunity to catch
l'Afrique.
Lele or Okala Bilai and took them to Mount Cameroon and say, well, we are keeping this people until you release Ayoktabe, that will pains on the Yaoundé because that's the governor. But can Ayoktabe himself catch a governor? Can he even catch a messenger? Can he even catch a prison guard and hold him hostage? He cannot. So those people are not abandoned, as he said. Now, they thought mistakenly that they could release themselves. But now, I think I talked to one of their very close people just yesterday. They now realize that they are wasting their time. They cannot release themselves. They remain there, give the support of the people to the people who are outside. They are not bound to give their support to the interim government, who are members of the interim government. If they think Choyaba can release them, so be it. or Anu, so be it. Let them pass the message to Anu, to Choyaba, to Akwanga, to whoever, and say, well, we are here in the hands of the enemy. Fight for our release. But as far as the interim government is concerned, we're not leaving any stone unturned. I personally, as an individual, I consider most of what they have done wrongly as a mistake. But if your child mistakenly goes into somebody else's house and is captured, you're not going to abandon him there. You try to get the child home, chastise the child, say, "Oh, next time don't go because you will not come back." That's how I look at them. They are all adults, they are old people, but they made a mistake. Right now, they are still there. Let them realize that their freedom will not depend upon them. Because if they come out today, they will not recognize this fight. So many things have changed since they were taken to jail. Maybe their wives and their children will not even recognize them. So they have taken weight that they didn't take when they were outside. So too many things are out that they don't know. And that's the truth. That's how reality is. When you are under those conditions, you don't live the best life. And I give these two examples to conclude. When Nelson Mandela was in prison for 27 years, Willie Mandela was his wife, and she was doing everything. When she came out, she could not understand Willie Mandela anymore. The first thing uh, Mandela did was to divorce his wife who came out of jail. So many things have changed. When Laurent Gbagbo of Ivory Coast went to jail,
Very
he
close.
had he had his powerful companion, his wife. After remaining in jail for 10 years in the at the Hague, he came out. The first thing he did was to divorce that woman. So many things that the woman could not even recognize him again. He divorced that wife. So when you come out, many things will have changed. Let them rest assured. I coincidentally know some of them, but not all of us know all of them. But I think each of us is in prayers, is in one form or the other, fighting for them. Let them not join the team of blaming A, B, or C. If they don't know whom, let them just pray for all of us. Again, they don't want to support Ayaba, Joe Ayaba, they don't want to support President Sako. Let them just pray and say, our brothers and sisters outside, fight for us until we get out. That's the better approach than for them to think that somebody will come and take them from Kononge to Hilton Hotel. At the end of the day, after you go there, whatever promise they give you, what happens? When they go and move back to the offices, you are put in the prison van and taken back to prison and put on your bunk bed. Because all lucky ones they have bunk beds to sleep on. So that's what it is. They should be able to do that. And I hope this message gets to them. I don't know. What was the other question again?
The other question was that since you mentioned about institutions that Amazonia, um, we all know that not individuals, not some group of people, but notwithstanding, we know that the United Nations is the key place where we should address our concern for our recognition. So the question was, in the best of your knowledge, is the interim government working in this direction?
Oh, yes. Okay. I was saying I said earlier that we're doing our best. Look, what we call the interim government of Amazonia is the best structure that has ever existed in most liberation struggles. What we are doing is not going unnoticed. What we call the IG has different departments, which those people, if their independence was to come tomorrow, if people who give independence consider us, they ask, can these people govern themselves? They will see the structures we have in place and say, yes, they can. For example, you think that all the effort we use to go and give refugees in Nigeria food, you think the Nigerian government is not aware of that? They are aware. We're organized and we're able to do that with the minimum that we have. We talk about this, our brothers in jail. You think all the effort we try to hire lawyers, yeah, they doesn't know. France doesn't know. They know. We have a legal department that does all that. So we have institutions in place which are a replica of what we would be, more effective than most liberation struggles I have ever known. And so we are doing our best. I've thought about contacting different governments. Are we doing it? Yes. You may contact the foreign affairs may contact the government and they say nothing. They have not forgotten that you contacted them. They know that you came to them in the name of the IG, in the name of the foreign department of the IG. So we have those structures, though a caricature of them, but they are a replica of what we intend to be for the future. So don't be discouraged. But the whole thing will not be done only by these structures. Not everybody belongs to the structures, but everybody has to support the structures. You have to support the structures. For example, the structures, nobody is taking a salary, but we need money to send it to the defense department. Go and buy the cutlass. Go and buy bread. Go and buy them monkwata. So draft at your own level, if it is drafting. What we are doing now is part of the structures. Give the people the education they need for them to realize that they are not just thieves, they are not just criminals. They have a right to what they are doing. This helps us down the road and helps the international community, if you so call it. People have said, well, if you go back to your so-called Ambazonia, Choyaba will fight Kwanga. Kwanga will fight Sako, Sako will fight Anu. No, those things will not exist. This shows the majority we wish we were handling the struggle. Yes, in West Cameroon, Southern Cameroon, in fact, when Foncha and the Muna and the Indere came back to Buya, Indere won the first election. Did Foncha go to fight him? No, he didn't fight him, accepted the results. When Foncha won later on, Indere did not take to the bushes with cutlasses and spears. He accepted the results of the elections. And again, we already know that was the first in Africa. It will be good. I don't know. I have time sometimes to follow this francophone thing. They discuss about their heroes. But nobody will ever mention that we had these governments over there. The Republic never had anything. As late as 1957, there were about 3, 4, 5 political parties in West Cameroon, Southern Cameroon. There was none in East Cameroon. The first time they attempted to form a political party was the UPC. And the last time they had one was the UC in 1959. So we were more matured, prepared to do what institutions require. Again, institutions will not function. Institutions have to be supported by the base, by the individual members of the community. Yes. Again, that is how we support the institutions. We're not going to have a kangaroo government. We're paying a draft of $1,000. We call it a draft. But is that new to us? No. In West Cameroon, Southern Cameroon and West Cameroon later on, what do we have? What a tax, what they call a poll tax. Every citizen paid that poll tax, a citizen of age 21, to sustain the government. And when in 1965, the West Cameroon government decided to introduce free education from class 1 to class 4, they instituted the education tax. You pay your poll tax plus another small sum to support the free education for everybody. We were never a country that was going to live on loans. Neither were we going to be living on handouts. So right now, let the Amazonians, wherever they are, play their own quarter and give the confidence to those in positions of authority that this message we deliver right here can be carried. Not everybody will walk. You can do that. But not everybody is going to take a crowd and go to New York and cash the United Nations. Some people know how to do it. Others know how to make telephone calls. The thing has become cheap. You can get somebody on telephone. You can get somebody on Zoom. You can do all this in the United Nations has been holding its conferences on Zoom. So it's possible. The institutions are there, but they have to work with the support of the masses below. First, materially. Secondly, by giving them the confidence that you are with them. Don't they dream? Not everybody will be President Sako. And that's a mistake people thought. Not everybody will take leadership. If we have anything to learn, they might have learned that the attempt to change leadership in the middle of the struggle was the saddest mistake they made. In less than a year, they put two presidents. What of miscalculation is that? Nobody ever claimed that Sako was an angel. Yes. But the best way to do it is not to correct the person by saying, well, I'll replace you with another person. Because the other guy will have to learn the job for another 1 year, 2 years before even doing it. So let us support the institutions that we have. Know that we have leaders who are not angels, they are human beings. Know that it is not time for us to vote for elections to vote A, B, or C. The time will come when we shall exercise those rights. Again, to conclude this particular topic, when Nelson Mandela was in prison for 27 years, they never conducted any fair election for the president of South Africa until he came out in 1992. Election was 1994. And today, between that year and today, they have changed about 3, 4, 5 presidents in South Africa. Why can't we just copy the right thing? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister. Let me just give you one more. I hope I still have, yeah, we still have some minutes. Um, it is a mixture of a heated debate been that has been ongoing. It's a little bit. Let me just put it to you. I pray you just. Some people have been saying that the struggle, the Amazonian recognition quest, is a thing of the past. That the future is not necessary because the young people are vying for peace, so they are forgetting justice, and by so doing La Republique is taking advantage and killing our young people as a some sort of intimidation or fright or fear, such that they too should not remember the history. Please, I will really much on this appointment on community building to build the Amazonian community, both the old and the young, on this thing, on the importance of standing on history and pressing forward to recognition.
Well, let me just say this. They are killing people, yes, but very few people of my age range are being killed because we're already old. Why? The people who took up arms and they are fighting and they are being killed, 99% of them were born after 1961. But they are angry enough to put the Republic on its own knees. So not solving the problem today is only postponing it. Will they kill people? Of course, they will continue to kill. If the question of dying was enough to frighten people, even the people will never have independence because they killed the people in the name of Makiza. They raised down every village in the Bameke land. But that did not make France not to go. France did everything in Nigeria, wiped out communities, killed everybody. It did not work. So thinking that somebody will die or will not die is not the issue. They cannot look for peace without justice. That never happened like that anywhere in the world. Justice does not mean that they should come and pay Akwanga like they pay Abemokom money. No. Take again the South African example. After the years and years of apartheid, did they get justice? Yes. Did they pay the Africans there any money? No. They came out with something they call peace, truth, and reconciliation. Telling the bare
Reconciliation.
truth of what you have done wrong. brings peace of mind. And so, whereas we would like to have the dollar price for what they've done to us, there are so many ways to do it. Then again, there will be no peace without justice. Justice may just be moral, but there must be justice before peace. I remember, as a lawyer, we have these cases. A man and his wife are quarreling. They are in court divorcing. And I had one like that. That's a practical example. They're in court for divorce. They cannot see eye to eye. And I used to do that. I don't know what all lawyers did that. In most cases of divorce, we will agree, say, okay, can you come to a conference in my office? If it's a man or a woman, if they have lawyers, the two lawyers agree, come on, let us try to iron out these things. This guy will come with his wife. And they say, but we're in court now, what is the problem? And I will say, well, this is the man who beats me every day. He doesn't even give salt, he doesn't give anything. The children are crying. In most cases, by the end of that situation, the man or the woman will burst in tears in regret for what he or she has done because the children are sitting there. And that will end the matter. That is peace. That is justice done. At the end of the day, even if it is in the village meeting, you say, okay, go buy that woman one wrapper. When does she come now? Something like 500. Is that she can what the pain you're beating her and pull out her teeth? No, but it's symbolic. So there will no peace without justice. That's the principle. Whether they like it or not, there will no justice. There will no peace without justice.
Justice.
Make the justice. The justice starts from somebody acknowledging that they did something wrong. That's just all. Again, we may not ask for a dollar value, but they have to acknowledge where they went wrong. And then leave it to us. Because how much you have pay? The guy that you're offended will say, okay, just leave him now, just leave him. But you have acknowledged that you did something wrong. So those
Yeah.
people who live in the dream world and think that you can get peace without justice, they are fooling themselves. If we want peace without justice, because people are dying, that's your right to say so. But what is the justice you have done to the person who was already dead?
Mm-hmm.
Why did Mary merit that? Why did that child merit to be burnt in fire? Is that child going to come back to life? No. But the mother, the parents, the family of that child will be happy to hear that, well, that's how you did it. Whose name would not even know, because say, I'm very, very sorry, mommy. Papa, or excuse me. The man will simply say, okay, we don't forgive you now because you cannot bring back the child. But they have closed the chapter. We are pleading for forgiveness. That's how the
Mm-hmm.
human world, it's not only in our own case. If you look for peace without justice, you are postponing the problem for another day. Because justice makes the people to go to the root cause of the problem, to address it intimately, and to give it a past. What I wish is coming tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, thank you very much, Barrister. With that said, I can only say it is comforting to be in a house of justice than to be in a house of arrogance and boastfulness and violence, and which is what Ambazonians should know all over the world should know that the recognition the people of Amazonia are seeking for. It is a house where we will want to see justice, which is comforting. Even though individual parents, individual soldiers may not come to tell us that we are sorry, but then the country will be the mouthpiece to recognize the fact that what we have done to the Amazonian people, we are sorry about it, just like what the Germans are doing to the Jews when it comes to the Holocaust. The Jews living in Poland, in Romania, in Hungary, in America, all these places, they recognize the Holocaust up to today. Their great grandparents were the ones, but today they are comforted because the perpetrators really have understood what it means not to be boastful when you have really hurt somebody deeply. So it's the same thing, Amazonians. If We know that people have lost their lives, people are languishing in refugee camps, people are languishing in the La Republique dungeons all over where they have captured and held our people down in bondage, in captivity, and we receive, you know, awful news of sicknesses, death, hunger, frustration, rape, unwanted pregnancies, and everything. If, and it is our utmost wish that La Republique should at one point take cognizance of these things and revert from this inhuman treatment to other human beings. Really, it is something that the youths of today should not think, say, it not concern me. It concerns you because even those of you living in America, you see even the black Americans, the children whose great grandparents were taken as slavery, they are even doing their DNA to go and know their origin. What of you that is only the second or third generation or fourth generation born in the Western world? Let me put it this way. And then you think that there's no need for me to know where I come from. And even though they are calling on us to do our contributions, some of our children are more than 18, 20 years. They're already working. It should be a thing of concern for the parents and for us to keep telling them. We know some will say, oh, my children no longer listen to me because they've come to this world, they don't see any reason. But I think it is a responsibility to start building that community from your own home, appealing to your grown-up children who are already in the working field to say, this is our background, this is our community, this is our country. We have a country, we have a home where we have to fall back to. Because if children who are maybe the fifth or sixth generations to slave parents are tracing their roots through DNA, what of you and I? Should we forget so soon where we are coming from? Most of us are saying we are living the American dream. We are living our American dream, our big car, our big house. Wait it concern me. I don't struggle, I don't come on me for that place, for that bad place. But then there is no one that, if you are forgetting your roots, then you do not have a way forward because there is a call to remember a humble beginning. Where is your humble beginning? It is that place that you were born, you were circumcised, your navel was separated from your mother, and your grandmother, whosoever, you should remember home. Yes, barrister, there is also one thing. We are building our community. I would just say we're also supposed to talk about the press. Let me just give one thing. In 2018, the Secretary General for the Human Refugee Commission also mentioned that the Amazonian war is one of the underreported wars. And President Sako also mentioned it during the international press release that was held on the 8th of May, that um, he accused the media for underreporting what is described as onslaught of a genocide. So, referring to the press, we know the media press, the newspapers, the television houses, international wise. In your knowledge or in your understanding, what can you say? Because many people write me, why CNN they need talk this thing? Even Al Jazeera self, they need talk am. All these BBC, then why they need talk am? People ask me. So I would really like you to use this appointment and build the people, especially those that are asking this question. Why is the Amazonian case underreported?
I think when they say our war is one of the least reported in the world, they are right. The interim government does not report its own cases to the world. Someone else has to report the matter. The
Mhm.
press organs, written and spoken press, are looking for news. It is our role to give them the news. and then to cause them to report it. If the story you tell is not worth reporting, they will not report because they are reporting for money. They are selling the papers. Somebody has to buy that thing. They live on that. So if it is underreported, I think we realize so. We are taking steps to overcome that difficulty. The international press conference that you just mentioned is just one of the ways which we have recently adopted. They say, look, we can get this story out by inviting the foreign press, the foreign to Amazonia. The last press, for example, conference, I was there. They were the journalists from Nigeria. They were journalists from what do you call
From
that place?
Ghana, from
From Ghana,
Ghana,
from other places in the world. At
or
least we
from
saw
other
the
places.
feedback from Nigeria. Yes. When a journalist reports the story in their paper, that paper is selling to millions of people over there. You don't know who catches the story. And so, if there were people from Brazil, there were people from Ghana, there were journalists from uh, Nigeria, there were even journalists from Cameroon. There was a reporter from Cameroon who reports for BBC. So how international can we make it more than that? The only thing we should encourage ourselves is to do it as often as possible and to include the participation of other news organs as far as we can. There, it will become reported to the world. We don't know who reads this story. It will catch the eye of somebody somewhere else. For example, a journalist from Nigeria asked a question: what will you want Nigeria to do for you? Because he's going to report in his press. What do you want the Nigerian government to do? This was strategic enough because that question came in on the eve of a new government coming to Nigeria. They have just had elections. The new federal government is coming in. And so, what do you want the federal government of Nigeria to do for you that Buhari did not do? Because Buhari is on his way out. What do you want the federal government of America to do for you that Trump did not do? And I think the question from Nigeria was actually important. The president answered, and I personally did something else. I forwarded to Padi a judgment from the Federal Court of Nigeria in Abuja. We want the Nigerian government coming in to execute that judgment, the judgment of their own court. And by that judgment, the federal government of Nigeria under Obasanjo in 2002 agreed to do a number of things. They have never done
Yes,
it. If they would just do that,
exactly.
if they would just do that, if they would just enforce that judgment, we would have gone 10,000 miles ahead of what we are doing now. Because the judgment, the
Mm-hmm.
Nigerian government agreed, the federal government of Nigeria agreed in writing that they were going to sponsor the case of Amazonia at the International Court of Justice, at the United Nations, and in all other organs for them to address the issue. That's all what we need. So again, we're having a new government in Nigeria, whether it is Tinubu or whoever, we're having a new president in Nigeria. He's going to come in with his own policies. If the Nigerian press publishes this, the new government of Nigeria may want to clean its face, given how the face was tainted by cooperating and adopting the Sisiku's and sending them back to Cameroon. Where again the federal court in Abuja has ruled that that action of the Nigerian government was illegal, was wrong. So
Yeah.
this government want to clean their face and do something better. That's important. And that's the use of the press conference, which I think, again, recommended that we do many more, increase the participation of different journalists. That will go a long way to publicize that case. It will make it less underreported as it is now.
Thank you very much, Barrister. It is something that I would just want to add here because there is another phase for reporting and sensitizing and creating awareness. I see a lot of Amazonians, young ones, older ones, middle age, having platforms where they do a lot of social media work. It is an appeal that, and you see them during their live shows, they have about 100, about hundreds of viewers, Amazonians commenting on those platforms. It is a wish, or it is something that should, if this generation could also use that their platforms and also say something concerning this our Amazonian struggle, because it is some sort of means of um, sensitizing community with, like the Ukrainians have done. They're using their platforms, private platforms, those who were in model platforms, those that were in comedies, those that were in music, those that were in filmmaking and everything. They have automatically converted their platforms into reporting the Ukrainian war. I would also want to applaud somebody like Radio Charcoal, who is really using his platform to say those things out there as it is. Say, report our Amazonian struggle, black and white, as it is out there. And at the same time, we have this is a fellow French Cameroonian, Michel Bienton, who is also using his own platform from time to time, reporting for Amazonia, really bringing out pertinent things that Hamas what should be said, even by Amazonians themselves. But at the same time, it is a thing of greatness to see someone from La Republique to be reporting the things as they are on behalf of Amazonia or for Amazonia. So all of us, Amazonians who have social media platforms in Twitter, TikTok, out there, it is another way to sell out the Amazonia uh, message. So at a given point, we shouldn't only be saying that it is reported. We know that if some powerful media house, CNN, BBC, Sky, and all these European TV outlets, if they should pick on the Amazonian case as they will do report other aspects and report it out there, it is something. But at the same time, if individuals, Amazonia, go on their social media platforms, as I said, and talk on the Amazonian issue, then we will not only be talking to ourselves. Yes, that is something that I also wanted to add when it comes to reporting um, and what the press is reporting and what the activists are not saying. Yes, our time is like really um, much spent. Um, as so, um, there is another agenda on our points on our list today that is the HSS calling. HSS calling, barrister. I will still appeal to you to like appeal to the Amazonian community when we talk of our institutions and our structure. In your own way, what is HSS, the Health and Social Services, with the, in connection to the aftermath of whatever thing that is taking place in Amazonia?
Well, I think that department, I've always said this, that department is one of the most powerful that we have. I've never known, and I don't know how they manage to do what they do. But it's important, so important because the bulk of the people they have are out of the country. They are the rare victims who have nowhere to go. They are different from people who escape from Cuba, from Bamenda and go to Douala or to Yaoundé. If you escape to Douala, to Yaoundé, to Bafoussam, you probably have a cousin there. You have an uncle there. At least you have a place to take shelter in. Those who escape out, who are being supported by the HSS, they are the real victims. They are the helpless ones. And if we are doing so much for them, why should we not congratulate that department? I just don't know. There used to be, when this thing started, we used to ship containers to Nigeria. If that avenue is still open, we can still do more. Because over here in the United States, for example, so many of us have goods that we don't use, that we don't need, that if they got there, they will go and save it for some of those people. But if we cannot ship them, $10 will give you so many nairas. $100 of all will give more. So why don't we just do that? The HSS is the eye opener. It's one of the departments that they see us through it. And they see this IG. Because no other pretending IG has an HSS that goes to Nigeria to help people. None. So they are the outreach that will sell our identity. They are the outreach through which we sell our future government. So we should need to support it and do everything else to make it work. If it's a draft, a draft. If instead of giving $10, give 15. A penny to a poor man is worth a million to a powerful guy. So give all what we can give. And let me just say this in conclusion. You mentioned the social media. The social media is one of the most powerful instruments that we have in our hands in the modern struggle for independence. Provided that we know how to use the social media. I've seen people attacking Charcoal Radio. You may not like what Charcoal Radio is saying, but it's saying something in support of Amazonia. The very people who criticize Charcoal Radio, I've not seen them criticizing CRTV, which is online. You can go online, you find CRTV there. So you spend your time fighting your brother, fighting your sister, because he said something, I didn't put the comma where he wanted it to be put. He didn't put a full stop where he wanted it to be put. And you leave the real enemy enjoying himself there. So social media advocates, if you know what to do, like what we have now on Facebook. Facebook has no boundary. It's all over the world. Twitter has no geographical boundary. Instead of going there to put your own version for the world to read, you spend your time fighting Besa, fighting Sako, making audio. Oh, this man is no man. And so how does that help the struggle? If I'm not doing something right, let me assume I'm doing something wrong. And you are doing right. I will get to Ambazonia tomorrow. You will drive me away, or I will still be there. I will still be an Ambazonian. So why do you spend your time on your social media platforms fighting your brothers or fighting your sisters? While the real enemy is there, he too is on social media. You're not fighting them. You're fighting your friend, spending all your time, oh, they remove Sako. And so what? If they remove Sako, if they remove Marianta, if they remove Anu, if each of them went to their own corner and took up arms and was bringing down the enemy, we shall all converge in Boya from 5 different fronts. Will that not be success? Or you want to be the only man to get to Boya? That will be success. So my brothers and sisters, especially those on social media, especially those who call themselves activists, that's a good platform to fight the fight. But fighting me, fighting your brother, fighting your sister is not the fight. I'm not the enemy. You mean the enemy is there enjoying himself. Then you turn your own guns on your brothers, on your sisters, and say you're fighting for Amazonia. No, you're not fighting for Amazonia. Yaoundé is just so happy. They will say nothing. They will simply fold their tail and sit down and say, yeah, fight among yourselves. Again, I've not seen these people fighting Equinox, fighting CRTV. They don't. At this point, they are all on social media. I see them all the time myself there. So, again, to social media, to the so-called activists. Fight the right fight. Fight the correct enemy, not your brothers and sisters. For the HSS, give it the little you can. Do something. The HSS is more than prayers because they need physical help, even though they need prayer. But they need physical help. A woman with a baby needs diapers. A man limping needs a clutch. A woman with 3 or 4 children needs to eat something to live. Those things don't come for nothing. They buy. They cost something. So put your widow's might. The HSS is Ambazonia. Ambazonia is HSS because they are our brothers and sisters, they are our mothers, they are our fathers. So do the best you can, at least materially, to support that team and give praises to those who run the department for doing what they can do with the bare hands. They don't have much. They don't even have a sleep. I can imagine I deal with people who are in the defense. There are not so many, but sometimes they don't sleep. They are calling you, oh, they are arresting me here. How much more of a million people calling you that my child is sick, this one is hungry, this one, you might deliver in the bush. These are women who deliver in the forest. That child that is delivered in the bush on plantain leaves will be a lawyer tomorrow, will be, be better than you and me. But you don't know what they will be when they come out crying on plantain leaves. So do your best, HSS. I, on my part, I congratulate you for all what you do. I do everything to encourage you. So do your best. Be that. Be the public space for the IG. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister, for that highly enlightened lines again to the people of Ambazonia. Ambazonian community, una don hear, una don hear. We know say everybody dey try for a corner to dey contribute. But this HSS wey we dey talk about, by the time they arrest somebody, the wife become a single parent with 4 or 5 children. When they burn their houses, they now rush to a foreign land, they become refugee. It's difficult. You and I know that it is not a walk in the park to be in another man's country where nobody's looking at you. You don't even know your left from your right. So please, as Barrister said, he really applauds those that are in that department. So and HSS calling will be announced very soon, where every Amazonian is called upon to look at the needy, the vulnerable, and know what to do. I'll just use this opportunity to announce here that there will be an HSS calling, and it will be a thing of joy to see each and every one of us come there and do the needful. Yeah, and show your sense of solidarity with a fellow brother, with a fellow sister, with an unborn child, with a pregnant, raped girl, and all those things. We need our physical presence, our physical hands deep. And as we all know, the AID is also a bundle towards this direction also. But then the team will come at another time and explain themselves what they will and what they are doing, how it could also sustain in so many areas. In the same way, the draft that we are doing, we all know how it is functioning in another context. But then at the end of the day, we all fall back to the HSS. We fall back to HSS because if Amazonians are wounded, HSS. If they are arrested, they become APOs, Amazonian prisoners of war. They know where they are. If their homes are burned and whatsoever, we know what happens. They become displaced. Some children go to orphanages and there they have to be looked upon. So all these things, my fellow brothers and sisters, it is not thing other than building an Amazonian community, sh- building our humanitarian sense, showing solidarity to one another, and then building a strong foundation for Amazonians to understand that they are not left behind in times of difficulties, that they are not alone all by themselves, that there are people who are out there thinking and working hard on their behalf. Without any much ado, um, we will, even our ABC here that we are talking, it goes a long way to do the needful. Fellow Amazonians, we have been talking. Barrister, I don't know if you still have something have come to your mind again that you really want to share with the Amazonian people. I know I like to worry you because you are always like,
Okay, I don't think I have so much. I think I've almost exhausted all what I can say. But let me
oh,
go back again to what we were singing. We have this sing
okay.
song. Let me repeat it. We have this sing song of United Nations, calling United Nations, calling international community. Even my dear coup plotters, even my dear referendum advocates, if you want the United Nations to come and organize or to come and do anything, let the United Nations first of all be on board. Let them be part of the discussion first, because you're not going to impose yourself on them. And to become part of it, you have to bargain and get the United Nations as part of this discussion. Not part of your what's up there, you sit there and write, oh, the United Nations will come. You don't tell us how they will come. How are they going to come? We'll do this, we'll do. I'm not being advocate for your referendum. But that's the key point. If you want the United Nations to come and make a peacekeeping force to come and organize a referendum, let the United Nations be made part of your discussion. And the only way United Nations will become part of your discussion, this is all to all Ambazonians. The United Nations gets itself committed by resolution or in some form of writing. When you go to the United Nations to any meeting, we in Canada, and somebody says, I'm representing the United Nations, ask for his credentials. The Secretary General would have written a letter. I've appointed ABC to represent me in that meeting. Don't get intruders, hijackers. You say, oh, I'm sitting for the United Nations. I can go and do that and say, well, I once worked for United Nations. I'm sitting here for United Nations. I'll be deceiving you. So get the United Nations involved. I know how to get them involved by way of some resolution passed or by the way of some written document signed by that agency, not verbal speeches. That's where you recognize the United Nations. Because you will show that whatever thing is recognition is given, they will take it back to the right source. It was sent by the Secretary General or by whoever officially. They will take the resolutions you take there to the right source. Don't get imposters come and deceive you on the United Nations. That's not how the United Nations gets involved. Again, the United Nations is different from international community. Address them by their name. If it is the United Nations Security Council, say the UN Security Council, put it in black and white. If it is the Human Rights Department, put it in white and white, in black and white. If it is the RCJ, call them by their name. Don't just say, oh, international community. There's nothing called international community. It's a general name that nobody will answer to be his or her name. Because Cameroon, a member of the United Nations, it's not the United Nations, just a member. Nigeria, United States, is only a member, it's not the United Nations. So get the United Nations officially involved. And again, the easiest way, the most important way, is by way of resolution. They'll pass a resolution who are taking an Ambazonian case, but they will not even pass one until people have agreed with the opponent. Because the United Nations will never come there when people are fighting. They will not come with cutlasses to separate you now. In most cases, they say, okay, if you want to make peace, you have to stop fighting. Then we'll come in on this day and do this. People agree. And then they sign it. So again, since this first topic was international community, take this home as a lesson. I've said this before. If you don't do that, The Republic, which is smarter than us, they will create their own United Nations people. What if they appointed Munzu? Because it was the high official of the United Nations. Munzu still has his card of the United Nations. Say, well, I'm the United Nations. Will you just accept? Munzu will tell you that he went to the Cote d'Ivoire as a United Nations official. But yeah, he carried a letter. He was appointed by the Secretary General with a document. Go and represent the United Nations here in Cote d'Ivoire. He didn't just work on the morning and say, well, he had worked there first. The mission got expired. He went back home. When they needed him, they wrote to him. So recognize the real United Nations, that the United Nations is not a man drinking book in the house. It's an institution that acts by writing. And anything you talk about United Nations today is documented. Go to New York, even go online. You research it, you find it there. So let us not be deceiving ourselves. And finally, again, let us fight the real enemy. Stop fighting people. If you insult me 1 million times, would that bring independence to Southern Cameroon? No. But if you insult Okala Belai, you can get angry and say, I'm not prepared to do this insult anymore. I'll run away. And that would save us. So insulting me, insulting Sako, I'm not going to escape from Amazonia. So take your fight to the real enemy, not making your friends, your brothers, your sisters, your own enemies to the advantage of the enemy. I just, in conclusion, I just read, this is the current story that is going on now. You see, this young child enthroned the king of King Fon or whatever of Baba. Well,
Oh, Baba one.
Baba one, from what we know, is going him to the East Camp to Yaoundé. Does he like
Mm-hmm.
going to Yaoundé? No, he's just a victim. He's a victim.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure he's going to Yaoundé because he likes it. No, he's a little child, 9 year
Barrister,
old. So what would
Barrister,
you
there is
expect?
also, in the
Yes.
conversation, something is just coming to my head. No, not really
Okay.
coming. I just remembered the press conference that you were part with the president, and you people emphasized the fact that the president really expressed it that, uh, yeah, many people have said that an independent country does not need a referendum anymore to stand to do anything, and at the same time, um, my thoughts are flying. Yeah, that an independent country like us does not need a referendum anymore, and then that the only one of the only thing that can let us that will pave a way and bring an end to this manslaughtering is a negotiated settlement coming on the table, even before the United Nations will write its letters or whatsoever. Can you still just say something on this so that people
Yeah,
should
all
really
the things that you talk about,
know
they
the
will come out of the everything that would happen will come out of the negotiation table. Again, let me take it back to the village where all of us belong. Two persons living in the village, they are fighting over a fence boundary. They have to come and sit down. And A will say, this is where the boundary passes through this stick, through the other stick. The other will say, we'll pass it through that stone. They are already on the table. Then the peacemaker will say, okay, we realize that no, this is not the correct stone, or this is not the correct stick. We'll put it here. We'll put a back wire so your goats don't cross to this guy's place. So everything should start on the table. When you go to the table, once you do that in the village, the two parties will abide by the new boundary. Nobody will fighting the other one again because you people have agreed on the table. Look, the correct place is this stick, or that stone, or that valley. That's how it is done. And let me use the opportunity. Somebody has asked in a loud video, oh, we're independent. Why are we fighting? If you doubt whether we're independent or not, go do your research on this. Resolution 1608 said British Southern Cameroon will become independent on 1st of October by joining the Republic of Cameroon. Let me just on it there. I don't want to go to 6085. They put it to the vote. La Republique was in that house. They voted no. Who don't want these people to join us. So what do you become? Your independence is no longer there. They have refused your marriage. I refuse to marry you at the civil status register in the bishop's house, at the altar. Do you lose yourself? You go back home and become an independent woman, marry somebody else, or do what you want. So why this referendum? To ask us to join the people who had already said they were not joining with you. They had said in 1608, on the 21st of April, 1961, no to the Republic, to Southern Cameroon joining them. And if they said no, that's the end of it. And they were right not to execute 1608-5 because 1608-5 was a follow up to the joining.
Sure. Sure.
They said we're not joining these people.
Article 5. Yeah, that's
So
not
why
the
would they go
one.
and begin to work out the details of how to join?
Mhm.
Why would they go and do it? And what happened? When they said no,
Yes.
the British, instead of saying that well, these people refused the marriage, they went away. And what did they do? They took you. If you went to the altar again and say, I'm not marrying this man, your parents say, well, I'm not taking you home. You're not coming back to the house. The guy, the man, will take you to his house as a slave and do what he wants to do with you
Mm-hmm.
because your parents have abandoned you there. But a smart guy will say, well, Papa, you want to go? I'm not going back to his house. I'm going somewhere else. That's the local way to explain that thing for everybody to understand. If you go to the altar and say, that man said, I'm not marrying you, are you going to die? Your parents say, no, we don't take money, you know, if you come back. Pastor, don't deny you know. Papa don't take money, you know. What will you do? You chart your own way. And if people refuse to marry us, what should we have done? Britain left, and they came and took us as their slaves. Now, we don't go take you like a slave. The man makes two children with you. I get to your sense and say, well, if you didn't marry me now, and come on me. Because that day, so you never signed the marriage certificate, you say no one time. You'll be free to go away. So for those people say, oh, we're not independent, go back to 1608. See that Yaoundé, the Republic voted no to the independence by joining on 1st of October. They said, no, we don't want it. And so they did not need to go implement 1608-5, which was talking about how to join, the details of joining. No, they were right technically. And when Britain, who were the administrators, said, okay, you refuse to marry this man, nonetheless, we are going us away. Well, left out of the mercy of the thief man. Now that we have grown up to maturity, shall we remain slaves anymore? No. Would it be right for us to go asking our people again? The people who have voted to join in 1961, and the guy said no. You go ask them again, do you want to join? How many times will you have that question put to the poor people, the enslaved people of Southern Cameroon? So, my referendum advocates, this is where I stand legally. If you have any interpretation of this, challenge me on this. Come on this debate. And that's how it is. So again, I conclude by saying, let us fight the right fight. Let us do what we are doing. And I encourage the IG. We're on the right path. No journey is easy. The HSS go on doing their best. Use a drop of water in the ocean. We'll be free one day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are already at the close of this edition. Thank you, fellow Amazonians. I really want to appreciate each and everyone that made that time. Barrister, I want to really thank you from the, as they go talk and say, from my bottom the left, from the depth of my heart, for the way you really expressed, taking out time and expressed everything in the most simple language that everybody sitting anywhere can just get it, making references even back home to the point that I'm not going to even need to talk anything again for pidgin because the the references that were made there, the example where we get for here today, the example where everybody feel identify with, and example the way all we don dey talk am all this time, all man don hear am for anyway. Fellow Ambazonians, the thing I say, as wey monkey don decide say e no go go, Na way we go talk say the next answer go be na fire power. So we go continue to do the thing wey we know best. We no dey talk our secret dem all the time for dis place, but we go talk say we know the needful, and when we don go inside house we go spell am out. One plus one is equals to two, but sometimes one plus one is equal to 11. So you go need to understand the language wey we dey talk. Barrister, thank you exceptionally for this day, for this time. And the debate is not even really finished. There are lots of things that just know that I have you on my list every every other 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you
Every
very
other
much for having me.
Thank you very much, Barrister. I really appreciate you,
Okay,
and many of you, my, I don't
all
know
right.
how to say, senior Amazonians. I really appreciate your knowledge, your wisdom. All of you out there who said some things connecting to the Foreign Affairs Office, and I'm looking forward also to bring Dr. Ellard here as soon as possible so he should share his own, and so many other of our legal minds out there, people doing lots and lots of things, even bringing Dr. Tita, who is the HSS, is my, yeah, yeah, the SOS of the department. We will together share what we plan to do as far as HSS calling is concerned. So, and I will also bring the National Treasury here sometimes also to come and explain, to come and highlight some things that building our community when it comes to what we need to do and what we should know and what we should be doing. Thank you again, Barrister. Technical crew, I really want to appreciate you behind the scene. I'm sure next time we will make it um, with interceptions where we can have some music or something or an extract or video to play so we can have time to drink a glass of water. So thank you very much again for another Tuesday. Fellow viewers, I give you people 21 gun salute without forgetting lockdown, 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 lockdown is coming from the 19th as it has been announced, 19 to 21st, from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, which is our normal um, um, country Sunday. This country Sunday is your is your trademark. Nobody should take it from you from home front. It's your trademark. It is more than enough to already say it is enough to take out 24 hours of your day and sit in for something for this country Sunday, this Monday ghost towns. It is a language Amazonians are speaking that everyone knows that this is the time. They know that this is the language. This is as much as we can give out there. And another thing we want to tell our people is that please, you people should stay indoors. You should stay indoors because let me tell you, these vulnerable thieves who call themselves whatsoever. I don't want to call their names because they'll be having relevance, but as reputable, respectable Amazonian citizens, when they say lockdown within these days, please stay indoors because any person who will go in an area where they think it is lax, just know that these our sellout black legs working with la Republic soldiers, they will just signal, and by the time they will come there to come and shoot people down like how they shoot flies, by the time you will know, by the time you will know, by the time you will know, we are just praying that none of us should be a victim, because if you be a victim, you will see that is where ADF will come and stand and said, yes, these are the people who did not respect um, the ghost town, so we have taken them off, not knowing that it is their brother. They communicated with their brothers so that what will La Republique gain in this? They will be reporting it that we are fighting against ourselves. So please don't give the enemy this green card to pass. Don't give them this pass. Just stay indoors. Stay indoors because if you make yourself banana, monkey go chop you. If you talk say me I must go drink me mamimbo, no say they go come meet up you for that place. and they go put iron inside your head, put am inside your belle, and once they don put am inside your belle, the other people wey e dey work with them, they go come stand talk say na because say dem no dey respect ghost town. Abeg, I dey repeat am again, make una no dey give dem opportunity for take our young people. Make dem no take your life, make dem no cut your life short for you. Hide yourself. Yes, dem talk say na stubborn fly na im dey enter with coffin for inside grave. When dem dey cover am, im no dey know. Now wey we dey talk so say make everybody stay for dis lockdown days wey dem don give am, some people go dey talk for their heart say dat one na una own, dat one na una own. But when dat time go come now, e no go be na only my own. Think of your pikin, think of your mami, think of your sister, think of your relatives dem wey and the Amazonian community wey you dey reduce am by making yourself vulnerable to the enemy. So I just want to again thank each and every one of us. I see Mami, I know my people, they know when I call their name. Mami is here, Ma Doro is here, Ma Irene is here, Ni Waters is here, Ma Vivian is here, Ma Irene, and wow, so many of our people are here. Sonny is here. Wonderful Amazonian people, a big community doing the best thing we can do in our different ways. So I will really appreciate and say we will be looking forward next Tuesday for another wonderful episode on appointment and community building with another themes that we will come on with, and you will be informed on the WhatsApp platforms with the flyers we are going to share and with the information on talking points that we will be dishing out next Tuesday. The appointment time is 6 p.m. Amber time during this summer period, but when the winter period will come, there will certainly be another shift of time. But for now, let's profit and benefit with the 6 p.m. Amber time. I just want to appreciate everyone again excellently and the technical crew behind the scene. We are appreciated. This is our national TV. Just go to the website. There's the ABC Amber platform. Do your contribution. There is the AID platform, payment portal, not platform, payment portal. Do your contribution. There's the HSS. Do your contribution. There is the draft. Do your contribution. So God is on our side. We are on the right path of history. This is a God-ordained movement, and the time is coming where no one will be left behind. Thank you very much, and the barrister is off now. We appreciate him very much, and thank you very much for being out there. I am Rachael. I leave you with a blessed week ahead. Thank you. Hello?
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with